The lights on Kepler 7 mining station flickered as another transport ship docked at Bay 12. Commander Jake Morrison watched from his office window as alien workers moved boxes and supplies through the metal corridors. He had been running the civilian section of this station for 3 years now, and the daily routine had become familiar. Ships came and went. People worked, ate, slept, and went home. It was a simple life among the stars. Jake was a tall man with brown hair and tired eyes. He had joined the space service 15 years ago. Back when humanity first started building stations this far from Earth, his wife had left him 2 years into his assignment here, saying she could not handle the loneliness of space. He understood. Not everyone was meant for life between the stars. The communication system buzzed on his desk. Lisa Carter's voice came through clearly. She was the chief of security for the station, a tough woman who never backed down from trouble. Jake, we have a situation in the lower waist sections. You need to come down here now. What kind of situation? Jake asked, already reaching for his jacket, the kind that makes no sense. Just get down here. Jake took the elevator down to the waste processing level. Smell hit him first, a mix of recycled air, metal, and something else he could not identify. Lisa waited for him near the large waste containers, her face showing concern and confusion. What did you find? Jake asked. Lisa pointed to a small opening between 2 waste units. Look for yourself, but move slowly. She's scared. Jake knelt down and peered into the dark space. At first, he saw nothing. Then 2 large eyes reflected the light from his flashlight. They were blue, like looking into deep water, and filled with terror. Hello there, Jake said softly. It's okay. No one will hurt you. The creature moved slightly, and Jake could see more clearly. It was a child, but not human. Her skin was pale blue and seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. She was thin, too thin, and her clothes were torn and dirty. Jake recognized her species immediately, Villani. When did you find her? Jake asked Lisa, keeping his voice low. About an hour ago, one of the waste workers heard crying sounds. She's been hiding in there for who knows how long. Jake had met Villani adults before. They were tall, elegant beings who rarely showed emotion. Their society was known throughout the galaxy for its order and perfection. But this child looked nothing like the composed aliens he had dealt with in trade meetings. She looked lost and afraid. The Villani delegation left 3 days ago, Lisa said. Their transport departed on schedule with all registered passengers. All registered passengers, Jake repeated. That's the key word, isn't it? Lisa nodded. No record of any child in their departure logs. No missing person reports. Nothing. Jake slowly reached out his hand toward the child. She pulled back deeper, into the shadows, making small sounds that might have been words in her own language. The sounds were soft and musical, but full of sadness. You need to get Dr. Rodriguez down here, Jake said, and contact the Villani embassy. Already tried the embassy, Lisa replied. They claim no knowledge of any missing children. They said all their people returned home safely. Dr. Emma Rodriguez arrived 20 minutes later carrying her medical kit. She was the station's expert on alien biology, a kind woman with gentle hands and a calm voice. She had treated dozens of different species over the years. Oh my, Emma said, when she saw the child. She's very young. Maybe 7 years old by human standards, possibly younger. Can you examine her? Jake asked. Not like this. She's too frightened. We need to earn her trust first. Jake sat down on the floor, making himself smaller and less threatening. Do you think happened to her? Emma's face grew dark. I've read about this in Villani cultural studies. Children who don't meet their society's standards are sometimes removed from the family unit. Removed how? Left behind, abandoned. The family pretends the child never existed. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. They just leave their own. Children, Villani society values perfection above everything else. A child who is different, who doesn't fit their ideal, brings shame to the entire family line. Emma knelt beside Jake, studying the child from a distance. She shows signs of malnutrition, and severe emotional trauma. The child made another soft sound, and Jake found himself responding without thinking. "It's okay, little one. You're safe now." Something in his tone must have reached her, because she moved slightly forward, just enough for them to see her face clearly. She had the large, beautiful eyes common to all Villani. But where adult Villani eyes showed intelligence and control, hers showed only fear and confusion. "She doesn't understand standard language," Emma observed, "but she's responding to emotionally cues." Jake spent the next hour sitting on the floor, talking softly to the child. He told her about the station, about the people who worked there, about anything he could think of. Slowly, very slowly, she began to move closer. Lisa brought food from the cafeteria, simple bread and fruit that most species could digest safely. Jake placed it near the opening and backed away. The child waited several minutes before reaching out to grab the food. She ate quickly, like someone who had not had a proper meal in days. "We can't leave her down here," Jake said finally. "The regulations are clear," Lisa replied. "Abandoned alien children are supposed to be processed through diplomatic channels. We contact their government and arrange return transport. And if their government doesn't want her back," Lisa and Emma exchanged glances. Everyone knew what happened to unwanted beings in space. There were too many stories of cargo holds being opened to vacuum, of life support systems mysteriously failing. "There are facilities," Emma said carefully. "Places that handle cases like this." Jake looked at the child, who was now watching them with those large, frightened eyes. "What kind of facilities?" "They provide basic care until the beings reach maturity, then release them to find their own way." "Warehouses for unwanted children," Jake said, his voice hard. "Jake," Lisa warned, "don't get personally involved. Hey, we've all seen what happens when humans try to fix every problem in the galaxy." But Jake was already personally involved, though he did not fully understand why. Something about the child's courage in the face of abandonment touched something deep inside him.
Ow.
She had been thrown away by her own people, left to die in the waste sections of a space station, and yet she had survived. She had hidden and waited, and hoped that someone would find her. "I'm taking her to my quarters," Jake said. "That's against protocol," Lisa replied. "Protocol abandoned her first." Emma placed a gentle hand on Jake's shoulder. "What are you planning to do?" Jake looked at the child again. She had finished eating and was watching their conversation with intelligent eyes. Even frightened and alone, she was trying to understand what was happening around her. "I'm going to take care of her," Jake said simply, "until we figure out something better." Lisa shook her head. "Jake, you can't adopt an alien child. The paperwork alone would take months. And if her people decide they want her back, then we'll deal with that when it happens." Jake knelt down again and slowly extended his hand toward the child. This time, she did not pull away. After a long moment, she reached out with one thin blue finger and touched his palm. Her skin was warm and surprisingly soft. "Hello, Jake," said quietly. "My name is Jake. What's your name?" The child tilted her head, clearly not understanding the words but recognizing the question. She made several sounds in her own language, then looked at him hopefully. "I think," Jake said, standing up with decision in his voice, "I'm going to call you Hope." 3 weeks had passed since Jake found Hope hiding in the waste sections. Every morning he woke up to find her curled up in the corner of his living room, watching him with those large blue eyes. She no longer tried to hide when he moved around the apartment, but she still jumped at sudden noises. Jake had learned to move slowly around her. He spoke in quiet tones and always let her see his hands. Dr. Emma Rodriguez had explained that traumatized children needed to feel safe before they could begin to heal. Hope was healing, but it was a slow process. The first breakthrough came on day 5. Jake was eating breakfast when Hope approached his table. She had been watching him eat every morning, accepting only small portions of food when he offered them. This time, she sat down across from him without being asked. "Good morning, Hope," Jake said, as he did every day. She tilted her head and made a soft sound. Then, very carefully, she repeated something that sounded almost like his greeting. It was not standard language, but it was her trying to communicate. Jake smiled and pointed to himself. "Jake," he said clearly. Hope pointed to herself and made a series of musical sounds. Jake tried to repeat them, but his human vocal cords could not make the same tones. Hope seemed to find this amusing. It was the first time Jake had seen anything. Like happiness on her face, Dr. Rodriguez visited every few days to check on Hope's health. She was gaining weight, and her pale blue skin was starting to show the faint glow that healthy Villani possessed. But Emma was concerned about other things. "She's not developing normally," Emma told Jake during one of her visits. "I've been studying. Villani child development and Hope shows signs of what they call cognitive deviation." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. They were sitting in his kitchen while Hope played with some simple toys that Pete Collins had made for her. "It means she learns differently than other Villani children. She's not stupid, Jake. Actually, she might be very intelligent. But she processes information in a way that Villani society considers wrong." Jake watched Hope trying to solve a puzzle. She was not approaching it the way the instructions suggested. Instead, she was creating her own method, one that seemed to work better for her, so they threw her away because she thinks differently. Villani culture values conformity above all else. Every child is expected to develop along the same path, at the same speed, using the same methods. Hope's mind works in a unique way. To her people, that makes her defective. Jake felt the familiar anger rise in his chest. There's nothing defective. About her, I agree, but that's not how her people see it. Pete Collins had become a regular visitor to Jake's quarters. The engineer was a big man with gentle hands who loved building things. He had taken one look at Hope's living situation and decided to help. "The furniture is all wrong for her size," Pete had said on his first visit. "Look how she has to climb onto the chair. What? And the bed is too high." Within a week, Pete and his team had created a set of furniture sized perfectly for Hope. A small bed with railings to help her feel secure, a chair that let her feet touch the floor, a table where she could eat without straining to reach her food. Hope had watched the installation with wide eyes. When Pete showed her how to use the new furniture, she had touched each piece carefully, as if she could not believe it was really for her. Amy Walsh, one of the station's nurses, also began visiting regularly. She was young and energetic, with a bright smile that seemed to make Hope feel comfortable. Amy brought games and activities designed to help Hope learn standard language. "She's very smart," Amy told Jake after one of their sessions. "She's learning words faster than most human children learn a second language. But she's also learning something else." "What's that?" "She's learning to trust, to feel safe, to believe that people can be kind without wanting something in return." The breakthrough moment came at the end of the third week. Jake was working at his desk when Hope approached him. She had been playing with her toys, but something had caught her attention. She pointed to a picture on Jake's desk. It showed Jake with his parents and his sister during his last visit to Earth. His family was smiling and standing close together with their arms around each other. "Family," Jake said, pointing to the picture. Hope studied the image carefully. Then she pointed to Jake in the picture and said, "Jake?" Jake nodded. "Yes, that's me." Hope pointed to Jake's father in the picture. She made a questioning sound. "That's my father," Jake explained. "My dad." Hope repeated the word, or tried to. "Duh." Jake's heart skipped. "Yes, Dad. Father." Hope looked at the picture for a long time. Then she pointed to Jake's father again and said, "Duh." She pointed to Jake and said, "Jake." Then she pointed to herself and looked at Jake with a question in her eyes. Jake understood what she was asking. He knelt down so they were at the same eye level. "You want to know about family?" he asked gently. Hope nodded, though Jake was not. Sure, she understood all the words. Jake pointed to himself and then to Hope. Jake and Hope. Family. Hope's eyes grew wide. She pointed to Jake and tried to say father, but the word came out as papa. Jake felt something break open in his chest. "Yes," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Papa." Hope smiled, really smiled, for the first time since he had found her. She threw her thin arms around his neck and held on tight. "Papa," she whispered again. From that moment, everything changed. Hope began following Jake around the station when he made his rounds, would sit quietly in his office while he worked, drawing pictures with the art supplies Amy had brought her. She began eating meals with him, instead of just accepting food when offered. Most importantly, she began trying to communicate more. She would point to things and wait for Jake to tell her the standard words. She practiced saying "Papa" until she could pronounce it clearly. She learned good morning and good night and thank you. Other people on the station began to notice the change in both of them. Jake smiled more. He seemed less tired, less lonely. Hope was growing stronger and more confident every day, but their peaceful routine was interrupted when Lisa Carter brought Jake some troubling news. "I've been monitoring communication channels," Lisa said, her face serious. "The Villani government has been asking questions about missing children. They're sending a diplomatic ship to check on their recent departures." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "They're claiming it's a routine follow-up, but my sources say it's specifically about children who might have been left behind. What does that mean for Hope?" Lisa's expression was grim. "It means they know she exists. They're coming to take her back." That night, Jake sat with Hope as she drew pictures before bedtime. Her drawings had changed over the weeks. At first, they had been dark scribbles, all black and gray. Now they showed bright colors, stick figures of people holding hands, and what looked like the station where they lived. In her newest picture, there were two figures standing close together. One was tall and one was small. Above them, she had written her new word in shaky letters: family. Jake looked at the drawing and made a decision. Whatever happened when the Villani ship arrived, he would not let them take Hope. She was not just an abandoned alien child anymore. She was his daughter, and he was her father. The bond between them was stronger than any law or diplomatic agreement. "Hey, Papa," Hope said, showing him her picture proudly. "Yes, Hope. We're family." And Jake meant it with every fiber of his being. The Villani could send their ships and their diplomats, but they would not take his daughter away, not without a fight. The Villani diplomatic ship arrived on a Tuesday morning. Jake watched from his office window as the sleek silver vessel docked at the main bay. His hands were shaking slightly, and he clenched them into fists to make them stop. Hope was in his quarters with Amy Walsh, playing games and learning new words. She did not know what was coming. Lisa Carter's voice came through the communication system. "Jake, they want to meet with you in conference room 1. Now." Jake took a deep breath and walked to the meeting. The corridor seemed longer than usual, and every step felt heavy. When he entered the conference room, he saw 3 Villani waiting for him. They were tall and elegant, with pale blue skin that glowed softly under the station's lights. Their faces showed no emotion. The one in the center spoke first. "I am High Selector Kethfer of the Villani Council. Your Commander Morrison." It was not a question. Jake nodded. "That's correct. We have come to collect property that was accidentally left behind during our previous visit to this station." "Property?" Jake asked, though he knew exactly what they meant. Defective offspring that should have been properly disposed of. "We understand you have been harboring it." Jake felt anger burn in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "I mean, Hope, she's not property. She's a child." High Selector Kethfer tilted his head slightly. "You have named it." "Naming creates emotional attachment, which clouds judgment. Her name is Hope, and she's my daughter." The 3 Villani exchanged glances. One of them, a female, spoke for the first time. "Impossible. Cross-species adoption is not recognized by Villani law. The offspring belongs to our people." "She was abandoned," Jake said firmly, "left to die in the waste sections. Your people threw her away." "The offspring was removed from the family unit due to cognitive deficiency, High Selector," Kethfer explained without emotion. "This is standard procedure for maintaining genetic purity. However, proper disposal protocols were not followed. We have come to correct this error." Jake's blood ran cold. "Proper disposal? You mean murder?" "We mean cleansing the offspring." Carries defective genetic material that could contaminate future generations if allowed to survive and reproduce. Jake stood up from his chair. She's 7 years old. She's intelligent, kind, and loving. There's nothing defective about her. Your human emotions make you incapable of objective assessment, the female Villani said. The offspring shows clear signs of cognitive deviation. It cannot learn in the approved manner. It processes information incorrectly. It is defective. Learns differently, not wrongly, Jake replied. She's actually very smart. High Selector Kethfer raised one hand. This discussion is pointless. We'll collect the offspring and return to our homeworld. Prepare it for transport. No. The single word hung in the air like a challenge. The three Villani stared at Jake with surprise. Clearly, they had not expected resistance. Explain your refusal, High Selector Kethfer demanded. Hope is under my protection. I formally claim her as my adopted daughter under Terran Federation law. She's a Federation citizen now. The female Villani made a sound that might have been. Laughter. Your laws do not apply to Villani offspring. We do not recognize your authority over our genetic material. And I don't recognize your authority to commit murder, Jake shot back. High Selector Kethfer's eyes grew cold. You will surrender the offspring, or we will take it by force. We have the legal right to reclaim our property. Try it, Jake said. Quietly, the meeting ended badly. The Villani returned to their ship, but they did not leave the station. Instead, they contacted the Federation Council and filed formal complaints. They demanded Hope's immediate return and threatened to end all trade agreements with humanity. Their demands were not met. Jake returned to his quarters to find Hope playing with her toys while Amy watched. Hope looked up when he entered and smiled brightly. Papa home, she said in her careful standard. Jake knelt down and hugged her tight. She was so small and fragile in his arms. The thought of the Villani taking her away made him feel sick. Amy, he said quietly, we need to talk. They went into the kitchen while Hope continued playing. Jake explained what had happened in the meeting. They want to kill her, Amy said, her face pale. Just because she's different, they call it cleansing. They say she's defective. Amy looked through the doorway at Hope, who was arranging her toys in a complex pattern that made perfect sense to her, but would confuse most adults. She's not defective, Amy said firmly. She's special, the way she solves problems, the way she sees patterns that others miss. That's not a defect. That's a gift. Over the next 2 days, Jake received constant pressure to surrender Hope. Station Administrator Carol Hughes called him to her office. Jake, I understand your feelings, Carol said, but this is bigger than one child. The Villani provide us with quantum drive technology. Without their trade agreements, our expansion into deep space stops completely. So we sacrifice a child for technology? We follow the law. And the law says that Villani citizens belong to the Villani government. Hope isn't a citizen. She's an abandoned child. It's not how they see it. And the situation got worse when Captain Nina Brooks arrived aboard the Federation cruiser Horizon. She was a stern woman, with gray hair and cold eyes. She had been sent by the Federation Council to resolve the diplomatic crisis. Jake was ordered to report to her ship for a meeting. Captain Brooks did not waste time with pleasantries. Commander Morrison, you are creating a diplomatic incident that could damage humanity's relationship with one of our most important allies. I'm protecting a child. You're interfering with alien cultural practices, the Prime Directive clearly states that we cannot impose our values on other species. The Prime Directive also says we protect innocent life. Captain Brooks slammed her hand on the table. The Federation Council has made its decision. You have 48 hours to prepare the child for transfer to Villani custody. That's an order. It stared at her. And if I refuse, then you'll be arrested for insubordination, and the child will be taken anyway. That night, Jake sat with Hope as she got ready for bed.
Dad.
She brushed her teeth with the small toothbrush Pete had made for her, put on the pajamas Amy had found, and climbed into her specially made bed. Papa, she said as he tucked her in. Why sad? Not sad. I'm just thinking. Hope studied his face with those large, intelligent eyes. Papa scared? Jake was amazed at how well she could read emotions. It was another sign of her unique abilities, the gifts that her own people saw as defects. A little scared, he admitted. Hope reached out and took his hand. Hope here. Papa not alone. Jake felt tears sting his eyes. This beautiful, loving child was trying to comfort him, even though she was the one in danger. Hope, he said carefully. Some people want you to go away. Bad people. Hope's eyes grew wide with fear. Hope, go away from Papa. I won't let that happen, Jake promised. But we might have to fight to stay together. Hope nodded seriously. Hope fight too. Hope stay with Papa. Jake kissed her forehead. Yes, sweetheart. We'll fight together. After Hope fell asleep, Jake sat at his desk and began typing. He was composing a message that would change everything. It was a message to every human colony, every human ship, every human family in known space. The message was simple. My name is Jake Morrison. I am the father of a 7-year-old girl named Hope. She is not human, but she is my daughter. Tomorrow, people want to take her away and kill her because she is different. I am asking for your help. Jake attached pictures of Hope, her drawings, videos of her laughing and playing and saying, Papa. He showed the galaxy what the Villani wanted to destroy. Then he sent the message to every human communication network he could access. Within hours, the responses began flooding in. Thousands of messages from human families saying they supported him. Colonies declaring themselves sanctuaries for abandoned alien children. Entire human fleets offering protection. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you threatened a human's child. Jake's message spread across human space faster than anyone expected. Within 6 hours, every major news network was broadcasting Hope's story. The images of the small blue child laughing and playing touched something deep in the human heart. Her drawings were displayed on screens across hundreds of worlds. Her voice saying, Papa, in careful standard, was heard by millions. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On New Terra, families gathered in the streets holding signs that read Save Hope. On Mars Colony, children drew pictures of Hope and sent them to Jake. The mining station at Alpha Centauri declared itself a sanctuary for abandoned alien. Jake woke up to find his communication system flooded with thousands of messages. Families offering to adopt alien children. Military officers volunteering to protect Hope. Scientists wanting to study her unique abilities. But most importantly, ordinary humans saying they stood with him. Admiral Ben Turner, Jake's old friend from his military days, called from Earth. Jake, you crazy fool. Ben's voice crackled through the communication system. Do you know what? You've started. I'm trying to save my daughter. You've done more than that. The entire Federation Ethics Committee is in emergency session. Half the human colonies are refusing to honor the Villani trade agreements. There are protests on every human world. Jake felt a mix of hope and fear. What does that mean? It means you've forced humanity to look at itself in the mirror, and we don't like what we see. Dr. Emma Rodriguez had been working day and night since Jake's message went out. She burst into his quarters that morning with excitement in her eyes. Jake, I've made a discovery about Hope. Something incredible. Hope was sitting at her small table, carefully drawing a picture of the station. She looked up and smiled when Emma entered. What kind of discovery? Jake asked. Emma knelt beside Hope and gently examined her hands. I've been studying her brain scans and genetic markers. What the Villani call a cognitive defect is actually a rare evolutionary advancement. What do you mean? Hope is enhanced. Empathic abilities. She can read emotions and intentions in ways that normal Villani cannot. She processes information through emotional and intuitive channels that most beings don't have access to. Jake watched Hope as she drew. Her pictures showed people of different species working together, holding hands, helping each other. The Villani rejected her because she's more evolved than they are, Emma continued. They're species, but they're too afraid of change to see it. Pete Collins arrived with more furniture he had built for Hope. Word of her story had spread through the station. Everyone wanted to help. The cafeteria staff had learned to make foods that were safe for Villani children. The teachers had created learning materials in her size. "The whole station is talking about her," Pete told Jake. "People are saying she's brought out the best in all of us." It was true. Since Hope had arrived, the humans on the station had become more caring, more patient with each other. They worked together better. They helped each other more. Hope's presence had reminded them of what it meant to be human, but the political situation was getting worse. Acton Brooks called Jake to another meeting. "Commander Morrison, the situation has spiraled out of control. The Villani are threatening to cut off all trade with humanity. They're saying we're harboring stolen property and interfering with their cultural practices." "Good," Jake said simply. Captain Brooks stared at him. "Good. You understand what this means? Without Villani? Technology, our deep space exploration stops, our quantum drives, our life support systems, our medical equipment. All of it depends on Villani cooperation, and we'll find another way. Humanity survived for thousands of years without alien technology. We can do it again. You're being selfish. You're putting one child above the needs of our entire species." Stood up. "No, Captain. I'm putting our humanity above our convenience. What good is exploring the galaxy if we lose our souls in the process?" The Federation Council sent an official order. Jake had 24 hours to surrender Hope, or he would be arrested and she would be taken by force. The order was signed by the President of the Federation herself. That night, Jake sat with Hope as she practiced writing her name in standard letters. She was getting better at it every day. Her small hand gripped the pencil carefully as she formed each letter. "Papa," she said without looking up from her writing, "people want Hope go away?" Jake had tried to protect her from the worst of what was happening. She was too smart and too empathic not to sense the tension around her. "Some people, yes. Why they want Hope go away?" Jake struggled to find words she could understand. "Because you're special, Hope. And some people are afraid of what makes you special." Hope looked up at him with those large, intelligent eyes. "Hope not want to go. Hope wants stay with Papa." "I know, sweetheart. I want you to stay too." Papa. "Fight for Hope?" Jake knelt down beside her chair. "Yes, Hope. Papa will fight for you. But I need you to be brave, okay? No matter what happens, remember that you are loved. Remember that you have a family." Hope nodded seriously. Then she pointed to her drawing. It showed two stick figures holding hands. Above them, she had written Papa and Hope in her careful letters. "Family," she said proudly. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Admiral Turner called Jake with an urgent message. "Jake, you need to see this. I'm sending you a classified report." The report was about other cases like Hope's. Over the past 5 years, the Villani had claimed dozens of abandoned children from human stations. Each time, the Federation had quietly returned them to avoid diplomatic problems. The report detailed what happened to those children after they were returned. None of them had survived the cleansing process. "They're not just killing Hope," Turner explained. "They've been systematically murdering their own children for years, and we've been helping them do it." Jake felt sick. "How many?" 43 children that we know of, probably more." Jake made copies of the report and sent them with his original message. The new information spread across human space like wildfire. The images of Hope playing and laughing were now joined by the names and pictures of 43 other children who had been killed. The human response was swift and decisive. Colony after colony declared independence from any trade agreement that required them to return abandoned children. Military commanders refused orders to participate in child surrender operations. Entire human fleets moved to protect refugee sanctuaries. On Earth, millions of humans marched in the streets. They carried pictures of hope and signs that read "Never again" and "Children are not property." The president of the Federation was forced to call an emergency session of the Human Congress. Lisa Carter brought Jake the final piece of news that would change everything. "Jake, Admiral Turner's fleet just arrived. 12 ships, including 3 battle cruisers. They're positioning themselves between the station and the Villani ship." Jake looked out his window and saw the human ships taking defensive positions. Their message was clear. They would not allow Hope to be taken, High Selector Kethver contacted the station with a final ultimatum. Either Hope was surrendered immediately, or the Volani would consider it an act of war. Jake's response was broadcast. Across the galaxy, my name is Jake Morrison. I am Hope's father. She is my daughter, and I am her papa. You want to take her from me? You want to murder a child because she thinks differently? Then you'll have to go through every human in this part of the galaxy. Because we don't abandon our children. We don't throw away the ones who are different. And we will never, ever let you hurt her. The message ended with Hope's voice saying, "Papa," and laughing with pure joy. Across human space, the response was, "The same, we stand with Jake. We stand with Hope. This is the human way." The standoff lasted 3 days. 12 human ships faced one Volani diplomatic vessel, but the real battle was happening across the galaxy. On every human world, people were demanding their governments take action. The Federation Council was. In emergency session for 72 hours straight, Jake spent those 3 days with Hope, trying to keep her life as normal as possible. She still played with her toys, still practiced writing her letters, still called him Papa with that bright smile. But she could sense the tension around her. Sometimes she would climb into his lap and hug him tight, as if she knew he needed comfort. On the morning of the 4th day, everything changed. Admiral Turner's voice came through the communication. "System, Jake, you need to get to the main conference room now, and bring Hope." Jake felt his heart skip. "Is it over? Come and see for yourself." Jake took Hope's hand and walked to the conference room. She wore the blue dress that Amy had made for her, and her hair was neatly brushed. She looked beautiful and brave, holding Jake's hand tightly. The conference room was full of people. Admiral Turner stood at the head of the table, his face serious, but not sad. Captain Brooks was there, along with Dr. Rodriguez, Lisa Carter, Pete Collins, and Amy Walsh. But there were also people Jake did not recognize. Important-looking people in expensive clothes. At the center of the table sat a woman. With silver hair and kind eyes, Jake recognized her from news broadcasts. She was President Sarah Martinez of the Terran Federation. "Commander Morrison," President Martinez said, standing up. "Please, sit down. Both of you." Jake sat down, lifting Hope onto his lap. She looked around the room with wide eyes, but she did not seem afraid. Jake's presence made her feel safe. "Hope," President Martinez said gently. "My name is Sarah. I came here to meet you." Hope tilted her head and studied the president. Then she smiled and waved. "Hello, Sarah." President Martinez smiled back. "Hello, Hope. You're very brave, aren't you?" Hope nodded. "Papa say be brave." "Hope be brave for Papa." "Commander Morrison," the president said, turning to Jake. "What you have done has forced all of humanity to examine our values. The Federation Council has spent 3 days debating what it means to be human." Jake waited, his heart pounding. "We have reached a decision. The Federation will no longer participate in any practice that harms children, regardless of their species or origin. We are passing the Expanded Family Act, which recognizes that family bonds transcend biological origins." Jake felt tears sting his eyes. "What does that mean?" "It means Hope is officially your daughter. She's a full citizen of the Terran Federation, with all the rights and protections that brings. No one can take her away from you." Hope looked up at Jake. "Papa, Hope stay?" "Yes, sweetheart, you stay forever." Hope threw her arms around Jake's neck and hugged him tight. The room erupted in smiles and applause, but President Martinez was. "Not finished? There's more, Commander. The Volani have threatened to end all trade agreements with humanity over this decision." Jake felt a moment of fear, and we told them we accept their terms. Humanity will find its own way forward. We will develop our own technology, make our own discoveries, forge our own path among the stars. But we will do it without compromising our humanity. Admiral Turner stepped forward. "Jake, I have some more news. The Zephyrian Empire has contacted us. They want to establish trade agreements to replace what we're losing with the Volani. Apparently, they've been watching how we handled this situation, and they're impressed. Dr. Rodriguez spoke up. Klaxon Collective has also sent a message. They want human advisors to help them establish adoption programs for their own people. It seems Hope's story has inspired changes in other species too. Pete Collins grinned. And the Andromedans want to hire human engineers. They said anyone who would build furniture for an alien child must understand how to really take care of people. Jake looked around the room at all the faces smiling at him in hope. These people had risked everything to help them. They had stood up to their own government, faced down alien threats, and changed the laws of an entire federation. Why? Jake asked. Why did you all do this? Amy Walsh answered first. Because hope reminds us of who we want to be. Lisa Carter nodded. Because protecting children is what humans do. Pete Collins added. Because family isn't about what species you are. It's about who loves you. Dr. Rodriguez smiled at Hope. Because hope shows us that being different isn't a flaw. It's a gift. President Martinez stood up. Commander Morrison. The Federation Council has voted to award you the Medal of Honor for your courage in defending innocent life. But more than that, we want to offer you a new position, Director of Interspecies Family Services. Your job would be to help other abandoned children find homes with families who will love them, regardless of species. Jake looked down at Hope, who was listening carefully to everything being said. What do you think, Hope? Should Papa help other children like you? Hope nodded seriously. Yes, Papa. Help children. Make families. 1 year later, Jake stood in the same conference room, but everything had changed. The walls were covered with pictures of children, human children, Villani children, Zephyrian children, Klaxon children, and dozens of other species. All of them had found families through the Interspecies Family Services program. Hope, now 8 years old and fluent in Standard, stood beside him wearing a beautiful blue party dress. Today was special. It was the first anniversary of the expanded Family Act and Hope's official adoption day. The room was full of families. Humans who had adopted alien children and aliens who had adopted human children. Children of all different species playing together, laughing together, being children together. Admiral Turner approached them, carrying a large cake with 8 candles on it. Happy Adoption Day, Hope. Hope clapped her hands together. You, Uncle Ben. She had started calling all of Jake's friends by family names. Amy was Aunt Amy, Pete was Uncle Pete, Emma was Aunt Emma. They had all become part of her extended family. As Hope blew out her candles, Jake thought about how much their lives had changed. The Villani government had collapsed 6 months ago, replaced by younger leaders who wanted to build a different kind of society. Many young Villani had come to human space to learn about concepts like acceptance and unconditional love. Some of the children Hope's age had been the first to embrace these new ideas. They wrote letters to Hope, calling her a hero for showing them that being different was something to celebrate, not hide. Hope finished with her candles and looked up at Jake. Papa, Hope make wish. What did you wish for? Hope pointed around the room at all the families. Hope wished for more families, more love, more children find papas and mamas. Jake knelt down and hugged his daughter tight. That's a wonderful wish, Hope. Papa, she said, looking into his eyes with that special wisdom she had always possessed. Hope thanked Papa for showing Hope that family, not about where you come from, family about who choose to love you. Jake felt tears of joy run down his face. Thank you for teaching me the same thing, sweetheart. Thank you for making me a papa. Around them, the celebration continued. Children of dozens of species played together. Parents of all kinds watched their adopted children with love and pride. And in the center of it all, a small blue girl and her human father represented something new in the galaxy. They represented the truth that love knows no boundaries, that family transcends all differences, and that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply refuse to abandon someone who needs you. This became known throughout the galaxy as the human way. And it all started with one man who looked at an abandoned child and saw not a problem to be solved, but a daughter to be loved.